Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest. Time for a Clinuvel quarterly update video. This is one of a few companies that are not required to do quarterly updates, but they've decided for full transparency, they will continue to do quarterly updates. And I'm really happy because we have seen another stellar quarter from this company, yet the share price on the day fell by about 8%. And that raises the question, is the market wrong? Now, I might be the wrong person to ask this question simply because I have pretty high conviction that Clinuvel will be a significant bigger company in about 5 to 10 years. And the market is saying the complete opposite right now. And this comes back to the idea and whole reason I'm doing this video channel is to share ideas. But I can share ideas, but it's really hard to share conviction. So for this company, I do have high conviction, but other shareholders will have significantly lower conviction, and their conviction, which is fairly low to begin with, has been tested over the past 9 months because the share price of this company has fallen from $44 to a low of $13, which is the exact same level we saw during the COVID-19 financial panic, even though this company right now is a much better company than it was 2.5 years ago. So I am thinking right now there is really good value for this company. You could argue when the share price was $44, it might have been overvalued. I could see that argument, but at $13, with the growth this company is experiencing, I think this company is looking really good value, even at a share price less than $20. And that's one of the reasons I actually did take added to my position upon the release of this Appendix 4C, which was an absolutely another stellar quarter for Clinuvel. So yes, Clinuvel is one of only two companies I know, Clinuvel and Fiducian Group, who are not obligated or required by ASX to release Appendix 4Cs, but they're going to keep doing it. And they actually mention here, just to update their global investors on a regular basis. I do know some experts who believe that companies should only report once a year, and they don't want companies to be updating their shareholders, their owners, because once you become a shareholder of a company, you are an owner. They don't believe owners should be updated on a regular basis, which is absolute nonsense. If you're an owner of a company, you want to be regularly updated on how the company is performing. Now, I'll quickly touch upon what Clinuvel actually does, and this is a pharmaceutical company, and what they're doing is beneficial for humanity. Not all of humanity, but only a select few people who are affected by a thing called EPP, and I won't try to pronounce that word because I'm going to absolutely mess it up if I try to. But people afflicted with EPP can't go into the sunlight. If they go into the sunlight, their skin turns to blisters, really nasty things happen to them. And really, in the past, they haven't had any really effective treatment until Clinuvel came along with the Sinise product. It's an implant that's put into the skin or underneath the skin that helps people afflicted with EPP. And it's really effective just after the implant's been put onto the skin. So typically, especially for those afflicted with EPP living in the Northern Hemisphere, they want this implant at certain times of the year. So there is a seasonality when it comes to the cash receipts for Clinuvel. So the June quarter is going to be one of the best quarters, if not the best quarter, and the September quarter tends to be a fairly good quarter. And then the December quarter and the March quarters tend to be fairly light on when it comes to cash receipts. So it's very important to keep that in mind if you do further research on Clinuvel. There is a seasonality to the cash receipts. And I've already seen people confused by this. So when the March quarter came out for the company and they released their Appendix 4C, there were some detractors who said, oh, cash receipts are down for this quarter compared to the previous quarters. This is horrible. Company is not growing anymore. And that tells me these people have no idea, have done no research on this company. So keep that in mind, that right now, Clinuvel's receipts, their revenue is seasonal. Another thing I like to see or look at for pharmaceutical companies is the pipeline of products. So I don't like to see a pharmaceutical company with just one product. because that really limits the potential for growth, future growth for that company. But that's not a problem for Clinuvel. So they are selling their Sinise implant right now, and they've also got sort of a pediatric Sinise product in the pipeline in development. That's for people affected with EPP between the ages of 12 and 17. They also have other products in the pipeline or in development as well. So a lot of things going on for Clinuvel, and I think the future is bright, not only because of the Sinise implant, because of these other products that are in the pipeline. Now, onto a few facts in regards to Clinuvel. Company founded in 1987, so it has been around for a while, and in fact listed on the ASX in February 2001. So it's been a listed entity in Australia for 21 years. Now, the current CEO, and he's been in this role for a while, about 17 years, is Dr. Philip Volgan, a fairly controversial figure right now in terms of what he's getting paid. I have heard some investors say he's getting paid way too much, so his remuneration is way too high. I tend to disagree with that because he saved his company and turned it into what it is today. So without Dr. Philip Volgan, there may be no Clinuvel on the ASX right now, or if there was a Clinuvel on the ASX, it might be a much smaller company than it is right now. So I think he deserves everything he gets. Couple of interesting shareholders on the registry include the Sovereign Bank of Norway and BlackRock. Both of those are really awesome funds, own 1% of the company. And when we turn our attention to the market, so if we go back to September 2021, share price of Clinuvel reached a high of $44. At that point in time, the valuation or the markup cap of the company was $2.2 billion. And you could have argued with me that that valuation was too high, but the market was expecting that the growth of this company was going to be fairly high over the next 5 years. So they gave a premium to the valuation of this company. And then for some reason, the market decided they wouldn't give a premium to Clinuvel valuation. And that's why the share price has dropped from $44 to a share price of $15.54 when I set up this presentation. Share price has rebounded since I did this presentation or set up this presentation. So even though I have a market cap of $770 million here, share price is around about $17.50 as I speak, which means the markup or valuation is above 800 million. But still a significant discount right now to what the market was giving this company back in September 21. And I would argue that right now there is some good value for Clinuvel based off the growth of the company. And the ticker for Clinuvel is CUV. Now let's have a look at the June quarter report. But before we have a look at the most recent quarter for financial year 22, I just want to go back to the June quarter in financial year 21. So I want to compare last year's June quarter to this year's June quarter. There's no point comparing the March quarter to the June quarter because of that seasonality factor I've already mentioned. So if we go back to the June quarter, financial year 21, receipts and customers, 14.9 million. And this company is operating cash flow positive. They're producing cash in their operations at a fairly big, quick rate, and it's growing at a fairly quick rate as well. So in the June quarter last year, they produced $8.1 million in operating cash flow and $19.3 million in the full financial year. And the majority of that cash generated in operations went to the bottom line, and the cash on hand grew from 75 million to 82.7 million. So the costs in this particular quarter amounted to 6.9 million. So the costs include research and development, product manufacturing and operating costs, staff costs, and administration and corporate costs. So I want to keep in mind the costs this company is spending last year and compare it to this year, and also look at the growth in receipts. Now let's have a look at Clinuvel's financial year 22 June quarter results. And to be honest with you, I had some pretty high expectations in regards to these results, but the results actually blew my expectations out of the water. And this is one of the reasons I was a little bit confused, maybe bemused by the market reaction to these results. And we'll talk about that when we look at the chart. But receipts and customers up $9.1 million from the June quarter 1 year ago, up to $24.1 million. But more importantly, not only did cash receipts climb by $9.1 million, but costs actually came down this quarter from last year, $1.4 million. That's significant. That is showing this company is a lean, clean, mean, cash generating machine. There's a lot of tech companies out there, fairly, highly thought of tech companies that are growing their receipts at a pretty quick rate, but they're also growing their costs at a pretty quick rate too. So they haven't reached scale. They haven't reached a point where that increase in cash receipts is going down to the bottom line, and yet the valuation of these companies actually dwarf Clinuvel right now. And that's another reason I really like this company is they are showing scale. They have awesome margins in their business right now. So because the cash receipts climbed or rose by $9.1 million and the cost came down $1.4 million from 1 year ago, this company generated $18.5 million in operating cash flow in this one quarter. That's almost identical to the cash flow the company generated in operations in financial year 21. And if we have a look at the year to date, almost $40 million of cash generating operations in this 1 year, which is more than double the cash flow from operations from financial year 21. So again, this is a quickly growing company. And because the company doesn't spend a lot of money in financing investing activities, again, they are a lean, clean, mean cash generating machine. Most of that cash generating operations fell to the bottom line, and the cash on hand actually increased by almost $20 million. And they have $121.5 million of cash and no debt to play with moving forward. So this gives a lot of flexibility to management. So they have a lot to decide on in the future what to do with that cash. Maybe acquisitions, maybe dividends, share buybacks. Those are the sort of things management will have to decide when they look at that cash on hand. They will have to do something with that cash on hand eventually, and that's another exciting aspect in regards to this company moving forward. Now let's have a look at the cash receipts history for Clinuvel. I started following this company way back in 2013. And you can see between July or June quarter 2013 and the June quarter 2016, not much growth in receipts. In fact, the receipts for the June quarter 2016 amounted to 1.2 million. And then we started to see this product really take off. And you'll notice a lumpiness with receipts. So again, there is a seasonality. So what you're looking at here is the peaks. You want to see each peak larger than the previous peak. And that's exactly what we are seeing. And based off this, typically the September quarter is the best quarter. We've seen that last 2 years where the September quarter was slightly better than the June quarter. So with this quarter producing $24.1 million in cash receipts, there is a possibility the next quarter could be better than this. The other thing I do like to look at is the worst quarter. So the worst quarter tends to be the March quarter or the December quarter. And in the last 2 bad quarters, cash receipts was greater than $11 million. And in fact, the last quarter, the March quarter, we had cash receipts $11.4 million, which is almost identical to the cash receipts we saw in the really good quarters back in 2020. So right now, the bad quarters for this company are almost identical to the good quarters we saw 2 years ago. So we are seeing significant growth when it comes to cash receipts for this company. Nothing to dislike apart from the seasonality here. And if you understand that, that's not something you should dislike. And they did mention talk a few years ago, maybe a year ago, that they are trying to smooth out that seasonality factor. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but that is something they're looking at in the future. Now onto the charts for Clinuvel, and the first chart here is the weekly chart going back to the middle of 2017. In fact, April 2017, share price back then was $6. In fact, we saw the share price rise from $6 to a high of $46, which was reached in September of 2019. It's not surprising. Share price highs for this company are reached in September. We saw that in 2019, again in 2021. Share price reached its next high of $45 in September of that year, just after the best quarter has been experienced from the company when their implants are being put into EPP sufferers. And the share price during the COVID-19 financial panic fell to a low of $13. So keep that in mind. fell to a low of $13. And then after that high in the share price of $45 in September last year, share price just fell off a cliff for some reason. No structural problems with the business, as we have seen by the quarterly results, just a shift in sentiment. For some reason, people just wanted to sell this company. And as soon as the share price moved into a downtrend, you get these low conviction holders probably asking questions about the future of this company. And because the share price is going down, they sell. And we started to see that more and more. And that was what was driving the share price down, just some negative sentiment in regards to the company, probably some short sellers as well. But as soon as the share price reached $13, remember, that was a share price we saw during the low of the COVID-19 financial panic. There would have been some people out there who thought, oh, the share price of Clinuvel was $13 now. The share price low during the COVID-19 financial panic was $13. Oh, maybe now is a good time to buy. Psychology plays a major role in the movements of share price. And that's why you get resistance and support levels, all because of human psychology. So it's no surprise to see the share price of Clinuvel bounce off $13, which is a really good support level because that's the COVID-19 financial low. So we have seen share price bounce from $13 to about $18, $17 right now. Now we're going to look at a shorter term chart, and this is the 3-day, 3-minute chart. So each candlestick here is over a 3-minute period, and we're going back to the start of trading on the 25th of July, just on the day the company released their Appendix 4C, and of course they released their quarterly report just before trading began on that date. On first inspection, just like I thought, the market thought the Appendix 4C looked pretty good. So the share price actually opened higher in the first 3 minutes of trading and actually reached a high of $17.50. And then over the next 9 minutes, someone sent the share price down, or a group of people sent the share price down from $17.50 all the way to $16.30. No idea who came in and decided to send the share price down. It wasn't professional or fund managers because they wouldn't have had time to fully digest the report. Whenever you see that sort of thing happening, when retail investors see a report and think it's good, and then the fund managers, the professionals think differently, usually you'll see a swing in sentiment during the day, not in the first 9 minutes. There is a possibility this was short sellers who wanted to seed some doubts in regards to this Appendix 4C, and it worked because of that decrease in share price from $17.50 to $16.30. Sentiment shifted from positive to negative. And that's why the share price kept on falling over the next day and a half. In fact, the share price went to a low of about $15.25 just after 2 p.m. on the 26th. But then sentiment shifted again. And we've seen the share price rise from that $15.25 to $17.05 towards the end of closing on the 27th of July, and more than likely on the 28th of July, with overall positive sentiment in the market, more than likely Clinuvel's share price will continue to climb because it's looking fairly bullish on the 3-minute chart right here. So the share price is now moving higher than what we saw on the 25th of July. So even though there was this initial negative reaction from the market, and I think this was just, I won't say an overreaction from the market, but I think there was some doubts in regards to the quality of this Appendix 4C, and those doubts was seeded by those short sellers in the first 9 minutes. I think that sentiment, those negative thoughts have turned around, and I think with more people digesting these results, that's why we're starting to see buying coming in. That's why we've seen the share price turn around. Now, to be fair with you, the whole reason I titled this video today, Is the Market Wrong?, was based off that initial reaction from the market in regards to these quarterly results. I think this was a stellar quarter from Clinuvel. I expected no difference, but these results exceeded my expectations. So I was a little bit confused, amused by the market reaction. And I think the market is correcting itself right now as the share price starts to rise. So sometimes the market can be wrong. So don't jump on that initial reaction from the market, because it could be certain participants in the market trying to make you sell out of your shares. And that's possibly what they did in that first day and a half of trading for Clinuvel. If you do have any questions in regards to Clinuvel, any thoughts, opinions, I'd love to hear info. So leave it in the comment section of this video. My throat is getting a bit sore now, so I should end this video. So if you do, I'm not a financial advisor, so if you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.